Hey guys, Tim for Arrow, Season 5, Episode 4, Penance, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I've really been enjoying the season so far, as you guys know. I haven't been as positive as everyone else has been, because, as you guys know, I haven't loved the team, and especially the past 2 weeks. I mean, I like the team. I definitely like the team dynamic in Episode 3 more than I did in Episode 2, but still, there were things I wasn't a huge fan of. But this episode, this for me was the first truly great episode of this season. I think the first 3 episodes were really well done, especially the first episode I really did love, but this was the first really, really great episode, by far best episode this season. I really love what we got in this episode. I thought there was a lot of hope put into this one. We focused a lot more on Diggle and things like that, but let's just get in this episode because there's a lot to talk about. A lot did happen, and I definitely do want to get right into it, but we start off, we see Team Arrow's chasing a thief through Star City, and Ragman is MIA, probably due to Felicity's bombshell, obviously because, what she told him and everything, but which, was literally a bombshell because of what she did, but the rest of the team is in position. Unfortunately, Wild Dog begins firing early, which throws the entire operation off. After Mr. Terrific takes a beating, Green Arrow then intervenes and then tells everyone that they're taking a few days off because this just isn't really working. And I like that we saw right away this team really isn't working out. They're trying, but they're very inexperienced, especially, Curtis, Wild Dog, Ragnar. They're just all very inexperienced, and I like that right now they don't really seem to be, not that they're not working as a team, it's just they're not really working as much as Oliver thought they were. So I really did like seeing that in the beginning. I think it makes sense why, and it's not annoying either. Like, you understand why they're not really working. And after the mission, Ragman tells Oliver that he's actually quitting the team, as Felicity is a constant reminder of pretty much everything he's lost, regarding his family and everything like that, and he just can't really be around her because that's hard to. And then we go to where last week's episode left off, where we see Lila showed up to the Arrow Cave to plan Diggle's planned prison break, and Felicity's not really on board with the plan. She thinks that, Diggle should stay in prison, that it's just not a good idea to get him out of there, so Lila suggests they steal a new piece of tech, an anti-molecular compound, to make the break-in easier, because if Felicity's not going to help them, then they're going to do it anyway, and I like how insistent Lila is on freeing Diggle. That's one of the best parts of this episode that I really did love, and that really does add to a lot of what makes this episode really good, is stuff like that I really did enjoy. So in a flashback, Anatoly and Oliver then hatch a plan to interrogate one of Kovar's men. Anatoly pours booze on Oliver, and Oliver poses as a drunk in an effort to get arrested, because obviously in order to interrogate, they need to get to jail. And I thought overall, once again, I really enjoy the flashbacks. I'm enjoying the flashbacks so far this season, and they don't seem to be letting me down. I'm liking where they're going so far, and this is a perfect example of that. So back in the present day, Oliver claims he has a nasty case of gout, so he can take a few days off to rescue Diggle. Obviously he has to lie, really it's about rescuing Diggle, but he tasks Chase and Lance to keep building a case against Tobias Church, because Church does come back into the forefront in this episode. Church is still out there. They need to make sure that they, condemn him and everything, and I like that he's actually trusting Lance. He's not like, oh, I don't think Lance is the right guy to do this. He seems like Lance is someone that he wants to do this. Chase, I'm not so sure. We just don't know a ton about him right now, so I can't really say if Chase is a viable option or not, but I like that he is trusting Lance so far. So Curtis discovers that Church's thief was trying to steal a common processor. He also finds out that someone's actually trying to break into Palmer Tech, and when Felicity calls Oliver about the theft, Oliver answers from inside Palmer's storage room, obviously because they're trying to get the anti-molecule compound, and Oliver returns to the Arrow Cave. He and Felicity argue over whether Oliver should break Diggle out of prison, because she really doesn't feel it's a good idea, and, she just feels that the best thing to do to keep him there, and Felicity says it's Diggle's call, but Oliver says he hopes she comes to her senses and also recommends she talk to Rory. The thing that works in this scene is this is not, Oliver giving in to Felicity. This is him saying, alright, it's what you want to do. I'm still going to do it, though. I'm still going to break Diggle out of prison. I'm going to do what I think is right. I like that he always seems to have the upper hand this season. Something that Oliver has kind of lost in other seasons. And this season he seems to have back, and I really do like that. I like that he seems to be the one in control of his decisions. And he also recommends she talk to Rory, because obviously things are very hard between her and Rory right now, and I like that. So I like that these two seem to be on good terms, but at the same time, they're very much arguing over what's going on. I think overall it's very interesting. So Chase and Lance then arrive at the jail to transfer evidence, but Church has brought a small army to get the processor. Turns out the processor is actually a bomb, so Church could bust into the evidence locker and get out some heavy weaponry. So meanwhile, Team Arrow 2.0 confronts Oliver about skipping town. Things quickly devolve into a fistfight, and Oliver leaves his trainees lying on the ground before driving off. Again, he's just not gonna listen to them, which I don't blame him for. I mean, he knows what is right. He knows that he wants to break Diggle out of prison. He knows that he shouldn't be there, and he's not gonna let his trainees tell him what to do. You know, they are his trainees. He's going to treat them like his trainees. And again, he said that, look, I'll have your back, but if you don't respect me, I'm not gonna respect you. And I get that. Definitely I do. So Felicity helps the team lick their wounds back at the Arrow Cave when Thea and Lance then show up to tell them about Church's prison break. Felicity actually orders the team to hit the streets and find out what Church is planned, because clearly there's something going on there. Lila then poses as an army truck driver to get into the prison gates. Oliver gets inside the prison itself by hiding in some laundry. He rigs the camera system so Lila can guide him to Diggle's cell, but when Oliver gets to the cell, it turns out he's actually been transferred to the prison general's population, meaning that he won't be back in his cell before their extraction window is up. So essentially, this is not going to end up well, because if he's there before their, if he's gone, before their extraction window is up, and if he's, if before it's up, they could have got him out, but if he's there before that, there's not much they can do. So, in a flashback, Oliver talks to Kovar's lackey inside the jail by chopping him in the throat, and he threatens the lackey's family, so the lackey gives him the IP address to a digital dead drop to contact Kovar. He then snaps the lackey's neck and kills him. Again, just a really well done scene. I like that. We're seeing, Oliver used to kill just so menacingly and brutal, and the difference now is I'd say he's a lot more calculated. I definitely would say he's a lot more calculated. Back then, he had people to answer to. This season, though, he's doing it for his own benefit, and I like that we're seeing that. I think overall that's a very interesting and Felicity has her talk with Rory. She actually apologizes again, says Haven Rock will be her legacy, but Rory says that he just can't work with her. Even though he wants to, deep down, it's just like working with the devil for him, because it's the person that, like I said, took over, ruined his life, pretty much. She got rid of all his family, and they're gone because of her, and he just can't trust her, and I get that. I think for a while it's going to be like that, but Felicity and Team Arrow then discover the Church is going after Star City's anti-crime units, and I thought that was very interesting we found this out. Now we know really what's going on, that a lot of this is because of Church. Now, we don't know if this is specifically Church or Prometheus is convincing Church, but I like that Church is in the center of this. I like that, Prometheus isn't the villain this season. It seems like Prometheus is just someone that Church is giving into. But in order to get Diggle back into his cell, Oliver takes out one of the guards, leaves him there for another guard to find. That triggers the guard to call for all the prisoners to be sent back to their cells immediately, and definitely, I thought that was a very well done scene, because obviously Oliver's trying to get to Diggle, he's trying to do whatever he can to do that, and Oliver obviously has to do some things that are kind of unjust, but in order to get Diggle back into his cell so they can try to bail him out, he has to do those things that he wouldn't normally do, which I like seeing. So at the anti-crime unit, Chase tries to get Church's men, the one that Team Arrow captured earlier, to flip by threatening them and turning off the cameras. Just then, Church shows up to take down the anti-crime unit, and Felicity's very hesitant to send Team Arrow into action, and I like that she is basically the one to take over here. It actually works here. You really do see her as the way she used to be in season, 1 and 2, when she was just the person that was giving commands. I like that, and Rory shows up and convinces her to let them go into the field, and I like that he actually was the one that gave her that confidence to say, look, we can go in the field. And when Diggle then arrives back in the cell, Oliver drops down from the ceiling. Oliver tells him that if Diggle needs penance, he should do it as Spartan and not in a prison, because if he does it as Spartan, then no one will know it's really Diggle. And again, we know that Diggle wants to stay in prison because he feels that he deserves it, for his own atonement, basically, to pay for Andy, to pay for Andy's death, which it was entirely Andy's fault. I will definitely say right now, that was entirely Andy's fault. Andy was an asshole. Diggle, I get why he's grieving, because it was his brother, but he still was an asshole, and he really had no choice. But that convinces Diggle to go with Oliver, so Oliver used the anti-molecular agent to create a hole in the floor for them to escape, and I like that the way that Oliver was able to convince him. There wasn't any Diggle being like, oh, I don't know, he actually did agree with Oliver. So Oliver, because this is the first person that really is wanting to help him, and I like seeing that, but Oliver and Diggle head through the sewers. Someone jams the comms to keep Lila from telling them how to get out. They end up having to climb into the prison yard, where a plane literally snatches them off from the ground before the army MPs can arrest them. Yeah, it was a little bit silly, but I thought it made sense overall. I liked the way it was done. Really cool stuff there. And Team Arrow arrives the anti-crime unit to rescue Chase and the rest of the police out. The team works well together first, but Church tosses a knife into Mr. Terrific's back. He beats the hell out of Wild Dog as the rest of the team escape. And again, I like that Church is stronger than them. And it makes sense. I mean, they're just not as well trained as Oliver's other team was. I like that this team isn't, nearly as strong. One of my complaints last season, and I will definitely admit this, I didn't admit this last season, but one of my biggest complaints is that they always had the upper hand. It didn't seem like there was ever a struggle. They always, put the enemies to rest. They always seemed to be going up against, they couldn't take down Dark, but it always seemed like any fight that they had, it just seemed really easy. And I like that this team, it's not nearly easy. This is a very hard team to, this is a very hard enemy to condemn. You definitely see that. And it's hard for them to fight without Oliver. And I like seeing that. So Lance arrives in a van to grab Artemis, Mr. Terrific, and Ragman. But Wild Dog, unfortunately, does get left behind. And Lyle and Oliver then put Diggle into an abandoned warehouse before Oliver leaves to take care of his new team, which I think is the right thing to do. I mean, Diggle said he didn't want to be part of Team Arrow. They're not going to have him do that, but what they're going to do is they're going to try to help him, I think, get over what he did, which I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, definitely there's a lot that Diggle feels very guilty for, but I like that Lyle and Oliver are willing to help him. I think overall that really does add to this. So back in Russia, Oliver tells Anatoly he completed the mission, thus earning him a place in the Bratva, which, that's something that he was trying to do. So I like that we're actually done with this. This isn't complete, this isn't like a snail-paced type of, this isn't a snail-paced flashback. Last year was really slow paced. I didn't know what was going on most of the time, but no, he now is in the Bratva. I love where that's going. I can't wait to see what's going to happen from there, but Chase then tells Thea and Lance that his opinion on vigilantes have changed and also says the church probably has Wild Dog. He actually understands the purpose of them now, and Felicity then beats herself up for losing Wild Dog, which I like seeing. I like Felicity genuinely upset and actually getting mad at herself. That's not really something we saw last season. She always thought that she was right, but I like that she actually felt bad here. But Rory actually comforts her, says that she made an impossible choice, and Oliver, that she really had no other choice but to lose him. So Oliver arrives back at the Arrow Cave, tells the team they're going to find Wild Dog, and we get to the end of the episode. We see Church now has Wild Dog. He's going to break him and leave him for the Green Arrow to find, and that is the way the episode ends. Really great stuff overall, but let's just get into this episode, my predictions for tonight's episode. So like I said, really, really strong stuff here. I really did love everything going on with Diggle and, Oliver trying to convince Diggle to, continue what he's doing and to pay for his sins. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. And I like that by the end of this episode, there's no Diggle being like, oh, I want to go back to Team Arrow. That wouldn't really make any sense. Diggle specifically said, I don't want to go back. As much as he would like to work at Team Arrow, that's just not what he wants to, that's just not, what he's going to do. I liked, seeing that overall. I liked that he now, is out of prison, but that he's in this, warehouse and everything. I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going to go, because clearly, I mean, he's not over Andy's death or anything. He still probably feels just as guilty, and Oliver are going to help him through it, but we'll have to see where that's going to go. I like that Felicity and Rory did make up for what happened. Rory realized that, yeah, what Felicity did was terrible, but at the same time, she's human, and, she makes bad mistakes. She was kind of put into a corner, and she really didn't have any other decision to make, and I'm not condoning what Felicity did, obviously, but I'm just saying I like that he did, in fact, give her the benefit of doubt, and he actually is helping her with this, so I like where that's going, definitely. My biggest question right now is Church. I mean, Church, in my opinion, I really love where they're going. I like that this is a human villain, that this isn't some mastermind who's, a magician or anything. I like where this is going, definitely. But what I like even more is that it seems that he is doing this for his own benefit, but we don't know if it's really for him or for Prometheus. I mean, we know that Prometheus is going to come back into the forefront at some point. We just don't know. We'll have to see, definitely. I think that's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing really where that's all going to go, because I don't really know where that's going to go. That's definitely going to be interesting as to... is he working for Prometheus, or is he doing this on his own? We know that Prometheus confronted him, we just don't know what happened from there. I'm sure we'll find out, just not yet, and I'm fine with that. I like that Church is out there, and I like that, we're seeing things go down with Church, definitely. He definitely is responsible for a lot of what's going down, and I like that he's the one responsible for all this anti-crime unit going down. The way that he's targeting the police is definitely interesting. The way that Chase is now starting to understand already the purpose of vigilantes, I think is overall really interesting. I like where they're going going with Chase's character. I want to get more into him and Oliver's relationship, but I like where they're headed, and I like that Oliver as well is still trusting Lance. You know, he's trusting him. Lance seems like he's on Oliver's side, and there's not a lot of conflict between these two. You know, there always seems to be a lot of forceful conflict, and I like that this season, it seems that he genuinely does want to help Oliver, and I like that he's not really regretful of what Oliver did, because they could have done some really dumb storyline where, oh, you're the reason for Laurel's death, and I like that they're not doing that. I like that there's a genuine reason, why Lance is the way he is. I like that he doesn't really have any beef against Oliver, because he shouldn't. I mean, Oliver really had nothing to do with Laurel's death. He didn't know it was going to go down, and I like the way that that's going. That definitely is very interesting. I like the dynamic overall, and like I said, I also like that Oliver seems to have the upper hand this season. I think it really does add to it when he does have the upper hand, and when he's overall, more in control. I think that it's more interesting to see Oliver in control than the Oliver that's being reprimanded. I think I like seeing more of this Oliver, definitely, but either way, guys, I really did love this episode. Really good stuff overall. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Loved your thoughts on it, and I will see you guys. What do you think? I also like I said, the team is not really as successful right now. I'm sure they're going to be, but again, they're inexperienced. I mean, Oliver's trained them for a while, but not nearly as long as he has the other team. You know, this is a lot less inexperienced group, and I like that. But that's my review. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Left your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next one, which will be for tonight's episode of Arrow, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.